Testudos, getting out of the salami oil economy. I just talked about the state of us being in a spider square. From when I was a young boy, I heard my dad talking about the war that was there in the Middle East. From Yom Kippur War to the rest of the wars that have occurred. The story has always been the oil. This war is going to cause a change in the economy. From that time, I'm not only talking about this one, those other wars that occurred in the Middle East, the story has always been about the oil and the fluctuation of the world economy. Yes, we've had oil controlling economy for a long time. And like I started when I talked about water as a fuel, that was my first video that I did. Water as a fuel. I talked about most of the countries that control the world economy having all the petroleum companies. And that's why it's difficult. When a situation arises, like now, we're talking of the oil economy. There's going to be a drastic change in the economy if the war extends. But from those years, when I was a small boy, things have improved in these very countries that own the petrol companies. There's been an escalation of the use of solar energy, electric energy, and name them. Hydrogen cars, prototypes were tested and were found to be very, very, very viable. Electric cars are now being sold in the market. Still, when there's a little shake-up, we talk of the world economy is going to collapse. The oil economy. I know the countries that call the shots would like the oil economy to go on and on and on, because they are the same ones that have discovered the electric cars, the electric motorbike, and electric flying cars. I think they may be working on other things. We may not even be aware. Maybe they have electric planes. Who can tell? But they have stuck on the oil economy because that is how they control the world economy. Every country in the world, most of the countries, 3/4 of the countries, buy oil. But the oil is bought, sold, done by companies from the few countries that call the shots. A time like now, when fracas of the sort that are in the Middle East can be able to effect and affect the very economy of the citizens of different countries. It can be able to lead to wars, and it can be able to lead to people shouting and buzzing like flies caught in the spider's cocoon that the economy is going to collapse. Come to think of it, world countries, if a country like ours, because mostly when you grade yourselves, you say first world countries, second world countries, and you put the class of our countries in the third world countries. I think the world is one. There is no third, there's no second, but our development status has not equalized yours. These things that you have invented, I've seen them in this town. That is a fast pan, a town that is outside and one of the small towns. Not, it's among the big towns, but it's not about amongst. Let me see, is it the 7th, the 8th, something like that. So these things that you have invented, I've been able to see electric motorbikes. I've been able to see, at least this side, an electric car. And name it, these things are there. Recently, there was somebody who was telling me of a house that would operate on solar, up to fridges, up to cooking. I never used to think that solar could be able to do that much. Question: must we get stuck on the petrol economy? Since the extraction of petrol from inside the earth is causing problems, it is this petrol and other parasols that shield us from the earth's heat. People talked about climate change and things have deteriorated, but nobody wanted to attend to the matter. So now we've reached a place where most of the ice on the poles has melted. We're still talking of changes in the use of what we have, changes in the economy, because there are people who have invested in the economy and of the oil, and they know that it's only oil that keeps them floating on top. Another thing I've come to ask myself, what's world economy? Because every country's got its currencies. I wonder why a few currencies should be the medium of exchange, should be able to control the other currencies. Because there are countries that don't even deal with those big countries in most things. For instance, a country may be having a neighboring country that is able to provide most of the things. Why do they have to trade in those other currencies? Why should the stock exchange be the one to determine the currency, the economy of the world? The countries that have advanced, and this advanced technology is all over. I've said if it can be able to penetrate up to the countries you say are still third world countries, because we've seen these things. I've seen several electric motorbikes, I've seen an electric car, and there are many other things that are happening. Is it difficult for these companies that have been profiting in oil, taking a turn and investing in these new energy sources so that we have different economy, maybe electric powered economy? Because with that, we shall not have these fluctuations that some countries benefit from and some individuals. Because economy is not always controlled by countries. That's what I thought. I thought economy was controlled by countries. There was a time when I came across a book called The Money Masters. And it was talking of families that controlled the economy from long time because of the investments they had. They could be able to sponsor World War I and World War II, both sides, funding both sides as people fought and reaping benefits from it. Some countries don't have a central bank because already the central banks have gotten privatized, meaning that the economies of those countries are in the pockets of people's hands. It was when I was following the money this thing, the book I told you of the money masters and whatever, that I realized even some countries that have a lot of clout, their economies are owned by people, individuals, not even the governments themselves. So, as the world thinks about this war, thinks about what has been causing these wars from when I was a small boy, it has been oil. And those who have invested in oil would like the status quo to remain. As much as the oil extraction is harming the earth itself, people wouldn't mind about the harm to the earth, they think of themselves. This is a plea. You've invested a lot in oil. Why not reverse that currency and be the leading people in these new technologies? The same companies that were producing oil, let them give us everything electrical. Things like that, so that when there is a problem in one part of the world, the rest of the world doesn't have to suffer the upheavals of the economic changes. Been thinking about it, because if electric motorbikes have been performing properly, electric cars can perform well, people can be able to get electricity. There was a time I used to have people who had come from Germany. Sometimes we would be colleagues and work together, and they would tell me about electricity in their place, solar being adjusted to become alternating and being put in the main grid. These things are there. Why don't we embrace change? First, for the sake of the earth. Second, for the sake of economic fluctuation. And third, for fairness in the world economy. Another thing is this: why should specific currencies control the economy of the world? Does it mean that the money from other countries cannot also stand on their own? Must we be rated with certain currencies? Must we have one stock exchange? Or could we have different spheres of financial exchange powers? To me, if I'm not an economist, I'm not very good in that field, I'm talking as a layman. But if I were to contribute to the world's knowledge, I'm not a businessman, I'm not a rich man, I'm just amongst the low people in the society. And when I talk, I'm talking of what will affect and effect changes in the lower class society too. Why don't we have economic blocks operating their economies and interrelating with other currencies, so that we have an economy that's not pegged only on the oil, pegged on trade, pegged on abilities to provide for the common people in an affordable and sustainable manner? It is possible. Because come to look at it, electricity doesn't need dams only. It can be produced from solar. It can be produced from wind. It can be produced from sea waves. It can be produced from garbage, because some of the developed countries, what they do, the biological waste they get, they ferment and get methane, and then instead of methane rising to pollute the ozone layer, they use this methane in electric production. So the methane is not left into the atmosphere to interfere with the ozone layer, and they are getting electric energy. For instance, most towns have litter, have dirt, biological, that they throw around, and it has become a problem to them. Their sewage systems, they can't be able to produce this. There is the United Nations that has been there talking about energy changes, environmental changes, calling meetings, but these things are not complicated because they are in every country. Those countries that call those meetings have them. So there's nothing new that we should keep conferencing about. It's only production. Change the production of energy from oil to these other sources and be able to integrate it so that it can support countries financially. It becomes a producer of money and economy. It's a high time that the world thought of changing from having one economic axis to having several economic axes, maybe continental, for the benefit of reducing these fluctuations, these threats that when a currency in a certain place is threatened, then the whole world economy is threatened. A world economy should not be tied to a currency. It should not be tied to a country. It should not be tied to a group of people. Because my understanding of economy is that trade should be able to go on, relying on market forces, fluctuation, up and down, things like that. But when it's pegged on money and on a market that trades in money, then it tends to lose its very meaning. It's a high time that the experts in that field thought along this line that trade should be an exchange of commodities with currency, not a commodity with currencies. That is the way it appears in the world nowadays. A commodity is what dictates the change in currency. But there are other commodities too. There are other services too. I may be wrong, I'm not an authority in that field, just a layman. But if we looked onto economy from this point of perspective, I think it would help heal the world. It would put the world economy in a different perspective from what we know. It will reduce the wars, because some of these wars are brought because certain commodities are in certain places. If you amass them, then you are on top. Let the world think together. Must we have ourselves stuck in the stock exchange, stuck in the oil economy, stuck in currencies from countries that once colonized us, or countries that appear to have started economically strong, because even the other countries that were not that much known have developed. They have got goods that they can exchange with other countries for currency. So it's a suggestion, a crazy idea, but this is the thing. Why can't we have economic blocks instead of relying on one country to call the shots, one market to call the shots, one commodity to call the shots, and a group of people who have traditionally stuck to that investment, money and power, calling the shots. Perhaps it's a high time human beings change their perspective. What do you think? That's my take for now.